Hollywood, California, home of a religious order which keeps making headlines.
The Immaculate Heart College was alive with highly trained, ambitious women.
These ladies were kick-ass and kind of subversive.
There was a big peace march, and the nuns in the school were marching with us.
If you really believe something is wrong, put your body on the line.
Good Catholics were not sending their daughters to Immaculate Heart because they felt it was a little dangerous.
We'd certainly brought criticism from the cardinal.
That cardinal was not going to put up with those uppity women.
Cardinal Immaculate was very powerful in those days.
He was the boss.
Immaculate Heart sisters drifted away from authority, and that was really the big problem.
They thought it was blasphemous. I think he viewed nuns as coolie labor for his schools.
Sisters complained about the conditions of their jobs.
The cardinal started censoring the faculty.
There were legions of young nuns where all they felt was defeat. We said, we have to stand up and say, this is what we will do.
Clearly, we were in a boat that needed desperately to be rocked.
The Immaculate Heart Sisters taught me, you must follow your conscience, even if it goes against what the Pope himself has to say.
There's a sense in which we've always been in trouble.
It was a marvelous statement of women.
We did what we thought was right. We did it because we thought it was just.
First off, thank you so much for joining me with this wonderful documentary, Rebel Hearts. First off, Shawnee, this documentary seemed like a home run, right from the get-go. It should have been immediately greenlit right from the start. And my first question is, how does one continue to hold on to that vision for not just for a couple of decades? Because most people would probably give up even after a spell. What kept you going? And yeah.
Well, that's a good question, because there were definitely a lot of bumps in the road along the way. And I think that our team can attest to, even at the end, there were a lot of bumps. But I think what kept me going were my promise that I made to these original group of women who were the pioneers and the courageous women that you've seen in the film. I made them a promise that I would finish it if they trusted me with their story. And there wasn't a night that I didn't go to sleep that I didn't think, I have to finish this. I think some of the challenges were that after some of them died, a lot of the people died, as you could see it in the end credits. The people who took over the community, a lot of them didn't have the same vision. So we had to kind of resell it to each group that came in, each leadership team that came in. And then finally, our last team was a whole nother hurdle in itself, because they had to gain the trust again of a whole new group of people. It was a challenge, but I said in another interview, they had this amazing apartment building in town, and that was when Koreatown wasn't so hip, and it was kind of this rundown structure. I have a sense of holiness in there. When I would go in there, I thought, these people have really embodied their vision. And I would kind of hark back to that whenever I got disillusioned or discouraged, and just think about that essence that they carried with them through all those years. So,
the Rebel Hearts
probably
is
a long answer to it.
That's totally fine. That's great. Great answer. This is a very multi-layered documentary, and Korin, Judy, I'm just wondering about how did you guys get involved as part of the team? Because there's the animation part, which I think is really wonderful. There's just getting Pedro on board as well. From both of your vantage points, how did you get involved with the project, and what made this production team really work for Rebel Hearts?
Well, I can say that it really wouldn't have been the same film without this particular group of people. It really is a testament to, it's not only what you do, but in how you do it. And we all came together with the same spirit that these women embodied to kind of deliver on Shawnee's promise and get this film made and get it and bring their sort of message of social justice and activism to the masses. But Shawnee and I know each other. we've known each other for quite some time in a different capacity. And she mentioned that she'd been working, on this documentary, and she'd been interviewing these incredible women. And when she told the story to a mutual friend of ours, it was like, wow. I mean, it just, it came alive. Of course, I'd known about Corita Kent, but I didn't really know the entire story about these women until I saw Shawnee's remarkable interviews. And so then I said, okay, let's try to get this made. And then we went to Pedro, who is a dear friend of mine. And, of course, Pedro being a Catholic and, a very progressive Catholic, I would say, really saw the potential and all the story potential in the interviews, but also really resonated with the message. And then Pedro brought the lovely Judy to the party. They'd been working on a film together, The Great Hack. Is that the first film, or did you do Bending the Arc too?
Yeah, it was Bending the Arc. We were working on Bending the Arc, and Pedro kept talking about a film that involved one of the characters was Sister Corita, and my background is in graphic design. And so I knew about Sister Corita, but I had no idea about this backstory of the Immaculate Heart Sisters and the Immaculate Heart community. When I heard that, I was hooked, and I actually kind of begged him. I made him let me work on it, and then got to be a part of this team that, with Kira and Shawnee, who had shown so much dedication and vision in capturing the history.
But it wasn't easy, it was a labor of love. Like it was a lot of, little wins bit by bit, taking 2 steps forward, 1 step back. We'd secure amazing partners and, investors, and then, would get a grant. And then, so we were just cobbling together like money piece by piece until we got some of our bigger investors to come on board. But it was a couple of years into the process before we really got some of the bigger investors to come on, which allowed us to kind of make the film in a more robust way.
This is a 2-part question on a zoom in level. I grew up Catholic. I went to Catholic school, and actually watching this documentary, the first time I saw Sister Corita's artwork blew me away. This was documentary just on that level is so value added. And those moments with her made me look at how I view my faith in a much different way. And also, Shawnee, all of your interviews with the sisters and how they put their faith into action, no matter how high the stakes were, made me look at my faith as well on a deeper level. So thank you for that. But then I think also on a more important zoom out level, can you guys just talk about how it's not a documentary specifically just for Catholics? It really talks about how whatever kind of obstacle or patriarchy you face, you've just really got to go out there and try to make a difference and keep the fight going no matter what happens to you. I thought that was very inspiring on a big picture level.
I think Kira and I never saw this as a religious film. We always saw this as a women's empowerment film and a social change film. And it was just on the backdrop of the Catholic Church. And I think Judy could probably relate to that as well. So I think that we knew that it was a story that had to be told because it was had come kind of full circle. Right now we're experiencing some of the same issues that they experienced back then. And we found that change is very slow, that these women are testament to, if you keep putting one foot in front of the other, change will happen, but it's very slow. And we're experiencing, as you can tell from where we are in society right now, some of the same issues.
I mean, it was quite amazing because like in 2018 or 2017, I guess, the very first Women's March after the election of Donald Trump in Washington, D.C. I mean, I was walking around the mall in Washington, D.C., looking at all these women in their pussy hats with their signs. And the only thing different, I mean, the signs were the same as some of the archival footage we pulled up of the sisters in the 60s. And it was quite remarkable to think, oh my God, like we're still marching for the same things 50 years later. It was quite incredible.
And there's this sense of the importance of community and all that. I think one of my favorite moments from filming the more recent footage was when we were at the retirement residence that Shawnee mentioned earlier, with these ladies doing their art class that you see in the film a couple of times, and we asked them, what message they would have for young people, and one of the ladies, Doris Murphy, who's no longer with us, said something along the lines of, find the people, find your community, find the people who share the same beliefs and values as you, and stand together to go out there and fight for what you believe in, stand for what you believe in. And that was just so inspiring, because they've, not only did they do that, but they continue to do it over 5 decades and more. So yeah, it's really a story about community and the power of community to transcend any kind of oppression, whether it's oppression of others that you care about or oppression of yourselves.
I'm trying to think of how to phrase this, but when you're a filmmaker, producer, and you have a project, one can distance themselves from the project, and maybe that project will really work because there's a little bit of a distance, and you can analyze it. But what's the key to balancing a project, a documentary that, just for me, it just seems like such a personal, not just a labor of love, but such a personal journey for each of you. It's hard to put into words with it coming out in Discovery Plus on the 27th. What kind of emotions have you gone through up to this day, and what does it feel like to see sort of that vision continue and even expand, amplify the next several days with its release?
I mean, I'm gonna I think Shawnee, you can answer this, but for me, I think I feel such a sense of relief or accomplishment that we have kept our promise. The more recent producers, myself, Judy, Pedro, we felt the burden of this promise, and not only the burden of it, but the joy of carrying it. But it was, a long time coming, that Shawnee has carried for even longer. To tell these women's story and to actually, one of the most incredible things is that one of the women who's in the film, her granddaughter saw the film and said, "Grandma, I didn't know that you were such a badass." Like, they finally feel understood and heard, recognized, I guess it is. And that's a huge sense of honor, I think, that we got to carry their story. So for me, I feel like so privileged that to have been part of bringing their story to the world in such a meaningful way. And thanks to Discovery Plus, now global audiences see them and know who they are too.
Shawnee.
Yeah, I saw this as always as a hero's journey of these women. It was just such a concrete, free act structure of a hero's journey. And I think all of the women here on this in this call have had to go through our own hero's journey as well. And through the trials and tribulations of, from Kira trying to find financing for it and selling it and pitching it, to Judy managing all the logistics and line producing and all the different contracts. I mean, it's just been, and then dealing with the community and all the bumps in the road along with them. So I think that I feel so much gratitude to this team that Kira assembled, and that everybody embraced it in their hearts. I think that's what we all had to do, was just really embrace it and stay true to the vision of who they are and what they did for women and the courage they had, and for us to embrace our own courage in that process. So how about you, Judy?
I had the honor of being able to see it in a theater with an audience of strangers last night for the first time. I happen to be on the East Coast right now, and saw it at AFI Docks, the AFI Silver Theater. And there were laughs where we would have hoped people would laugh, and there were kind of like, silence, like a kind of collective silence where you would hope people were really taking it in. And that's, you can only hope that an audience of people will share the sort of the joys and the sorrows of the experience of understanding the journey of these women. So I'm just thrilled to have this baby that we've been gestating for various amounts of years finally be out in the world, and really grateful to all the festivals that have programmed it, and then Discovery Plus and our theatrical runs in New York and LA. So yeah, it's exciting to be on the brink of that.
Documentaries like this that I love, I always want that documentary to have some kind of website or ecosystem where people can go in and check maybe some deleted scenes or extra footage, or just continuing the journey, maybe with the Immaculate Heart community. Where can people go after really loving this documentary? Where would you like to point our listeners, viewers, to continue this journey post-documentary?
Thanks for asking about that, Greg. We have a website, rebelheartsfilm.com, and all our social handles on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram are all Rebel Hearts Film as well. Our hashtag is Rebel Hearts Film. So you can follow us in all those places for updates. There's also a mailing list. And then we've been so busy getting the film prepared to get out into the world that our next big effort will be to create educational tools around the film so people can really dig in. So that'll be coming down the road, hopefully later this year. And we're really excited to, for people to be able to use it to think about the deeper issues of social justice and women's issues and oppressive structures that the film brings up.
Thank you, everyone, so much for your time. My only complaint with this documentary is, as a Catholic, now I wish I could turn back time now and thank all the sisters who were really wonderful at teaching me and helping me learn, because I had no idea the kind of journey they traversed. So I wish I could go back in time for that. So, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Greg, for your interest. Really appreciate it.